show one day, just from New York or something. Just totally.
We should definitely do a show from New York. That's quite an expense, Chris, but a fantastic idea. We're live now. Welcome, everybody, to a show that is not being hosted in New York City. We are in our respective homes for the Arcadia Roundtable. I hope you're all doing really well. My two co-hosts, I've got Darge and Chris, are doing brilliantly. Chris is waving his police department City of New York mug in your faces. He really wants to be there right now. Chris, how have you been?
Very well, thank you. I've been busy with work, busy working week. I've been out and about, so yeah, very little time to game. So, but all good, thank you, mate. Keeping healthy, keeping busy. And
I've heard some things. We'll get onto your games in a minute. I've heard some things. Darge, how have you been, sir? Have you ever been called sir before, or do you not get that on the roofs?
Usually scum is usually the title I get given. Yeah, no, I've been alright, mate. Just another week living that roofing dream, and yeah, no, other than that, mate, nothing too exciting to report. Still alive, so that's a good thing, I guess. But yeah, obviously the games we'll go deeper into those a bit later on. But yeah, all good over here. Thank you.
Perfect. Everyone's doing really well. I hope everyone that is here in chat or watching afterwards is having a brilliant week as well. We are obviously here to talk about games. There's going to be some news, there's going to be some topics, but I like to start with what we've been playing. And I've heard on the non-alcoholic grapevine, I've heard that Chris has a new partnership arrangement with Ubisoft. He's received a few bits and pieces, some free things, and he's reevaluated Skull and Bones. Chris, none of what I just said is true, apart from the fact that you are maybe feeling a bit more positive about Skull and Bones now. You've been playing it with your brother. Tell me all about it.
Yeah, actually, really enjoying it. Obviously, sadly, no partnership. Obviously, partnerships are available upon request. So yeah, so me and my brother have put a good few hours into it now. Started kind of exploring the ranking system, starting to kind of build more ships and get into the mechanics of. There's two separate ranking systems really. There's like a ship ranking, and there's your obviously you're ranking as like a pirate. So you can obviously move up to like cutthroat and so on and so forth, different levels of that, which give you different abilities to trade, obviously different equipment, different weapons, so on and so forth. So that you've got your infamy ranking, and then you've got your ship ranking. Obviously your ship level goes up depending on the power of your weapons, obviously what armor you add to the ship, and so on and so forth. And then you have cosmetics to make your ship look however you want it to. But no, really good. I mean, from a co-op perspective, obviously me and my brother have just been kind of sailing around, doing different missions. So there's missions where you need to go and take out rogues. There's missions where need to go and deliver contraband or items of trade. Then they're kind of like treasure hunts and story-based missions, etc. So really good, to be honest. Obviously, I'm playing on PC. Not a flex, but it's a really well optimized engine, so you can max all the settings out and stuff. Obviously, me and you, Asa, are fortunate to have a 4090, so we're not really kind of going to be stressing that out too much. But I mean, the waves and the visuals and everything look superb. I'm playing 1440p, but on an ultra wide monitor, so the peripheral vision's really nice in the game. Different factions, so you've got like Dutch, you've got French, and so on. And obviously, different factions tend to be more difficult. So it's a bit like if you look at like a Far Cry map. It's not exactly like a Far Cry map, but there's sections which are more, challenging depending on your level. And you can kind of just sail around. You can crack on. You can carry out your missions, and
crack
obviously,
on.
like the
wordplay is natural.
And obviously the Dutch and the other factions will only attack you if you attack them. But you have like rogues and you have cursed ships which will attack you if you're carrying certain cargo. But no, really good. The actual ship combat when you start to unlock all the different weapons is superb. And you have these kind of, when you attack a fort, you're not held in. You can leave the area, but there's kind of like a white line that shows you like the area that you stay in, and obviously ships come in to defend the fort, and then while you need to take down the wall or the towers. Um, so yeah, really enjoyed it. As you can see, I'm quite excited about it. I don't think it's as bad as some people make out.
So
And I
the
think
point that I'm
it's
at
the
in the game,
first
though,
foray into it.
it wants me to go and get some wood to, I don't know, to repair the first ship or whatever. I've not got the first boat. Like, I'm really, really early doors in it. And it's not been very interesting so far. At what point does it kind of open up? Like, what's the turning point where the game says, actually, this is the content, this is the loop, this is what you do with your friends?
So when you say you're early on, have you got to St. Anne yet, which is like the Pirates Cove, or are you still in the shipwreck?
Is that the first one? No, I've got there, but my first mission from there was to go and get some wood, which was too difficult for me.
Okay. So I think the thing I would recommend, so there's obviously kind of like a dealer of wares. You've obviously got the main Skerlak fella who's like the pirate. You've got a shipmate or a shipbuilder. You've got like a crafter. You've got a blacksmith. So when you talk to all of them, each of them will give you different types of missions, and some missions are worth accepting because you may just have like uncut rubies or whatever on you, and you can complete those missions quite quickly. So I think the whole point is for you to get out of the sloop and get in your first kind of ship, which is why they tell you to go get wood, etc. But obviously, once you accept that mission, it'll show you on the map, and it should just be a case of sailing over and just collecting some of that wood, or potentially, buying some. So I think once you're in your first ship out of that kind of sloop, then well, actually it's not the sloop. It's, I can't remember what the first boat is. Your little hunting craft. Once you're outside of that, then it starts to open up with more specific missions and stuff, and it really starts. Yeah, it really starts getting a bit more kind of in depth, and you can go off in different directions.
When it opens and you can go in your different directions and you got missions and stuff, is it like Ubisoft style, head to the map marker, or is it like Sea of Thieves style, you're heading somewhere vague and who knows what's going to happen on your adventure?
So it's the first thing, which I obviously prefer. So you can go, it's just like any kind of Far Cry or multiple main mission, side quest missions. So you'll just build up a list of them. They'll be marked on the map, and then obviously you can navigate. You can have a look at the map, mark the area yourself, sail over, and start to crack on with that particular mission. It's a bit more structured than Sea of Thieves. I don't really care if it triggers people or whatever. I think the combat pisses all over Sea of Thieves. I think kind of running to a cannon yourself and firing it and stuff is just not for me. I think it's all right if the three of us are on a ship or whatever, apart from when you set fire to it and we wonder who's attacked us. It's fine. But it's much more of a kind of, certainly for me, it's like a mouse and keyboard kind of FPS, where you kind of look around your ship and it's quite quick to enter combat. So obviously on my ship at the minute, I've got a kind of like bombardier type ship. So I've got torpedoes on the front, I've got 2 side cannons, I've got rear kind of fire cannons, which are they're not quite a mortar, but and then in the center of the ship I've got a proper mortar where you can obviously rain in damage from afar. So there's quite a bit of I've got some long range weapons. I can then move in quite quick and start taking out small ships and stuff like that. Me and my brother have gone with like complementing ships, so he can, I can kind of rain and fire from afar. He can like speed in and start taking out enemies close by. So I can imagine like 3 of you with different tactics, or you can get kind of repair cannons, so someone could sit back and repair the other 2 players like ships as they're
by shooting them with cannons.
And then there's I know, yeah, which is really interesting. There's a world event as well, which is really difficult. So like a Destiny or any kind of games as a service game, there's like world events, and you've got to take down specific cargo ships, but they're defended by really difficult ships to protect them and stuff. So they're kind of 2 or 3 players, relatively higher levels. So yeah, it's really good. It's worth jumping in. Obviously, you kind of get into the game, the mechanics, what you do, and I think the interesting thing is you can focus on blueprints and just build up like your ship collection or weapon collections. So you tag a blueprint and it'll tell you where to get those things from, or where to buy it, or do this mission to get a blueprint. Or you can just concentrate on like the Sherlock main missions and just do stuff for the main pirate fella.
So I actually I like the combat in Sea of Thieves probably more so. I've not played this in any depth, but I like the running around, scurrying around, being a pirate. I think it had massive flaws in terms of its kind of risk reward layout and all of that kind of stuff, but fundamentally quite enjoyed it. But what I liked most in Sea of Thieves though is just sailing into a storm and having chaos into is the Skull and Bones trailers. They have some quite moody lighting and exciting like scenes, but when I played it and sailed towards a storm, it didn't let me get anywhere near it. And this was in the tutorial area. Have you gone into anything dramatic? Does it get
amazing
a bit sexy?
Storms? Amazing, yeah. So basically, to the east, which is obviously on the map, it's classed as like the open seas. As you sail over east to try and reach those kind of like far away lands and islands, the storm is incredible, and they have like rogue waves. So it'll come up and say like rogue wave incoming. You can press a key to like target the rogue wave. You have to steer away from them, because if you go full belt into the rogue waves, they just kill your ship at the moment. I'm not sure if you start to get into galleons. Yeah, if you start to get into galleons and stuff, I don't know if then you start to have protection against them. But yeah, these rogue waves come in, so you've got to kind of navigate those. But some of the the height of the waves and stuff are incredible when you start going into real kind of like storms. Visually looks amazing like, in the skies.
For all you said about the structure and the combat and all that kind of stuff, you sold me on the weather. I just want to sail the boat into a lethal storm and watch everybody suffer and die. So I will give it a go.
Join the game with me, and I'll lead you into the open seas storm, and then just see how you get on. And the thing is, it's like there's rogues out there and kind of like Dutch and stuff like that who will start to kind of target you if you piss about too much or try and pick a fight with them and stuff. So I did exactly what you're talking about. As soon as the rogue wave came in, I was like, oh, right, in real world sailing. Not that I'm a sailor, but in real world sailing, you're supposed to kind of like, you're supposed to steer into the rogue wave and kind of, attack it head on. And I just saw my brother just scooting off to the left after, and I was like, where are you going? I'm going straight into the wave. And he was like, yeah, you're dead. Just did. My ship just fell apart. So it is good fun.
I'm loving that already. Gamsley, thank you for the super chat. To answer your question, the Fancy Gaming Arcadia mug contains coffee today. It's nice, actually. The mug is nice. Loads of the merch is nice. Check the merch store.
Yeah, I know. My merch ain't turned up yet.
Must be nice. Check the merch store. Do it well in advance of when you need any merch, because it takes freaking ages to arrive.
I shopped at the New York City Police Department merch.
I'm just wearing that. And I'm wearing the aquascotum because I've got a little bit of credibility left in the tank.
What's an aquascrotum?
Hey. No, not scrotum. You can call it aquascrotum if you want. I mean,
I am. Sir Aquascrotum, what have you been playing this week?
Sir Aquascrotum.
That's a good name.
It is good.
If Skull and Bones let you name your pirate, that would be your name. You'd be the Aquascrotum.
It's going to be. I'm going to change all of my Xbox and Steam and everything to Aquascrotum. I'll leave Death Stranding till after. So I've played a bit of Helldivers. We done a bit of Helldivers with Eradication, didn't we? Was that Friday night or something? We done that.
Maybe.
That's good. That's good fun. That Balatro, played a bit of that. What Replicant gifted me from the Discord.
Do you play poker?
I have played poker in the past.
Is Balatro
not
good?
Fully. Yeah, I mean, it's jokes that it's being taken off of storefronts because it's gambling, but it's not really. It's just the principle, the terminology of gambling, small blind, big blind, but you're not actually playing anyone. You just, it's just like a rounds thing. Anyway, whatever. Done a little bit of that. It's all right. I see, I listen to a few other podcasts, see a few people talking about it, they're enjoying it. And then the one that I heard Jeff Grubb talking about it, and I thought, I wonder, is that window kill? And window kill, for anyone if you ain't played it, is so basically you've got like your desktop wallpaper. When you boot the game, like a series of 7 mini windows open up. You select new game, and then what it does is like Geometry Wars, for example. You've got your little spaceship in your small little sort of 2-inch by 2-inch window, firing the missiles, and you have to spin it around. What it does, each time the missile hits the window, it expands the window out slightly. So you have to traverse across the desktop via shooting. And do you know what? I won't do that game justice. Yeah, but it's £4. I think it's really clever. And like an enemy type, like not a boss type, but like a heavier type of enemy will turn up in the top right, say for example, of your desktop window, and you have to navigate your way over to it so that you can destroy it, sort of thing. Oh, you're showing it on the stream now, so I just think it's really clever. In this example that you're showing here, the window's much larger. It doesn't really start like that, but you can obviously see the other windows. So I was playing that anyway. I thought that was good. It was a cool little game. Like I say, it's probably about $5 or something like that in the States.
Does it always play against that particular background that I've got there, or is it on your own desktop?
It's your desktop. I mean, whoever's desktop that is carnage. But yeah, no, mine's it literally, when you boot the game, instead of going into full screen mode, it loads these series of windows, and it only stays as that. When you click new game, it changes to just one window, which is with the ship, and then it adds more windows throughout the game. Anyway, that's window kill. And then
no, I need to know. I need to question window kill, because he just said that this default desktop is carnage. It's got a recycle bin XP? And nothing else on it. I can't imagine how plain your desktop background must be for that to be carnage.
I'm a very minimal man.
You're not referring to the old school Windows.
Maybe carnage is just a word. It's a choice word.
Carnage. The carnage in that is that Windows XP wallpaper. That's carnage. I mean, I've got a photo of my son. But anyway, yeah, so it's good. It's definitely £5 or $5 of your money. You could do a lot worse with it, you know. So so that's that. And then on to Death Stranding. And honestly, Asa, I mean, obviously on Sunday I tweeted out publicly saying I ain't even finished it on here. Like, well, I think I'm about halfway. And old Mr. Kojima fucking retweeted it and everything, and it's amazing. It's just amazing. The game's amazing. It's like, you know, when we were trolling it back in the day as a delivery simulator, it kind of is what it is, but each time you get to a new place, the game gives you more. Every time that it opens this world up. Do you know what I mean? And not only that, like, even though like the baby on the chest in the jar thing and all that, and I was like, what is this mad stuff? Like, but now I'm watching the story progress. It's good. Like, I'd like to see it as a film or a TV series in that universe, you know what I mean? Like the whole BTs and Void Outs and all this, that and the other. But yeah, Death Stranding. But then Eradication in the Discord earlier, like, because I was like, I'm loving it so much. How much is left? So I got to like chapter 6, I think, or 7. And then it was like, yeah, there's 15 chapters. And I was like, fucking, I really hope that apparently it goes pretty quick through the chapters now. So, yeah. Do you know what? Like, obviously, I know this came out in 2018 or 2019, whenever it came out. Obviously, I'm a bit late to this party, but I'll be at the front line of the hype wagon for the second one, like, when that comes out. Do you know what I mean? So I got it for you as well. I know you'll get round to it eventually, but hopefully you can just go back to it with a fresh play and just get captured by it like me. But yeah, that's pretty much the strength of my gaming. Obviously, we did our thing Sunday, didn't we? We done a little bit of Rocket League and a bit of Forza, which is always good fun. Yeah, and that's it. Still no news on the Steam Deck as well. So that's the Steam Deck update.
It's going to be going on for a few weeks, I think, that one.
Is it still headed off to Germany or Holland or wherever it's gone?
Prague, isn't it? It's going to Czechoslovakia.
Cheap beer there, so they're probably all drunk. not
don't drink.
fixing it. Oh, so they're probably drunk.
They're probably all on the piss. Yeah. Nice.
Well, yeah, I'm going to do Death Stranding, but it's going to take a little while. That's got good weather as well, as far as I know. So, and that's my criteria on whether a game is worth playing or not. How good is the weather? So I've got Pacific Drive to get to as well. Helldivers. It is. I can't help it. Like, it just makes everything 20 times better if it's got good atmospheric storms. The more chaotic, the more unrealistic, the better. I don't know why. Games look better when they're wet. Many things do.
Well, episode 13 just reminded me, we actually did Saturday night play some Halo multiplayer, and that was really good as well. And episode 13 is a very good Halo player and very good at filling for Xbox Corporation.
Yes, okay, good. Well, Halo might come up on this weekend's community streaming thing as well. So if you are part of the Gaming Arcadia Discord and stuff, we play a bunch of games, but especially at the weekend when we have the organised loads of people events, but it is Mario Day, so that might impact what we do on the Sunday. There's a Saturday as well though, so loads of games to be played this weekend. I have been playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth a lot, actually, quite a lot. I've got nowhere in it. Neither of you two have got it, have you?
No.
Did either of you play either? Did either of you play either the original Final Fantasy VII or remake?
I played the original on the PlayStation back then, free disca and all that. It was quite like, I remember it was a big thing about that game. Like, oh, you got to play the game like back in the day, free disc and all that, like, and beat it. I haven't played the remake. I had no intention to play the remake, but I did say to you I was thinking about getting the remake now. Because I'm seeing a lot of people saying that Rebirth is much, much better than the remake, and this, that, and the other. So I don't know. Well, I'll end up owning it and probably won't play it for about 5 years.
Obviously, you don't remember our conversation about our stance on Final Fantasy in one of our previous episodes.
Vaguely do, but I didn't want to just like pass it over. I love it. I like 7 was one of those games, fairly landmark for me. It's the game that taught me that characters don't need plot armor for a story to be told in games. For obvious reasons, if you played it, you'll know what I mean by that. And even if you haven't played it, you've probably heard what happens in the original telling of Final Fantasy. I spent ages grinding right up to the moment that you lose a character, and you properly lose a character in that game, which is so rare that it's done well in an RPG that you actually lose them, and you lose all the work and all the effort that you put in there, and they're just gone. That was cool, and I'm really never move on from Final Fantasy VII as a significant game. That's why I got the poster. But remake, I really freaking enjoyed. Rebirth, I've got nowhere near far enough to say it's better or worse than part 1 was, but I'm basically just running around the field backwards and forwards for ages. It's got so many intertwined progression systems that are all just like ongoing at the same time at just the right pace to keep you interested, to keep you dipping in and out of a menu over and over again, because you level up your characters, you level up your weapons, you learn your skills, you level up your materia, and you can do all of this across all your characters all the time, and you're always dipping in and out, getting further, getting better, wanting to go a little bit more, and I've barely engaged with the plot at all because I'm just running around doing that, having fun. And then I've got to a point in it where it opens up into a Ubisoft style, like go to the towers, put icons all over your map, and in theory I should hate that, because I hate that when Ubisoft do it, but I'm much more forgiving in this case. I'm like, yes, I'm going to go to every single icon and do every single damn thing, and I'm going to level everything up, and it's going to be brilliant. It is ugly though, you're right, Chris. The performance mode is not. So,
are you playing it on Asa?
A lot of people not happy are they playing it in graphics mode.
Yeah, I'm playing it in graphics mode, but both modes are kind of flawed in their own way. So the performance mode, if you sit really far away or you play on a really small screen, you might just be okay. But for me, it's genuinely like, oh, that's a nasty filter, and it looks quite horrible in motion. The other mode, though, the graphics mode, it was pretty similar to your camera when you did that. That was not actually a bad demonstration. The quality mode is like, it's really nice if you're not moving very much, but it's the nasty kind of 30 frames per second. It's not well handled. Some games do 30 and it's pretty smooth. They blur it really smartly. They keep the input latency down really nice, and actually you can adjust to it pretty quickly and enjoy it. Rebirth 30 is pretty harsh in quite a lot of situations. It's fine in combat and all the rest of it, but when you are running around your fields, just traversing and panning the camera, does take a bit. And it's also got a fair amount of like kind of level of details style things popping in, shadows popping in a quite chunky kind of way in front of you. So it's definitely got its flaws on that. It's definitely going to be an absolutely gorgeous game when it gets its PC release or a PlayStation 5 Pro or whatever else comes down the line. Characters are meticulous, like so good, the character models and all the rest of it, all the detail in there. The combat is so much better than any Final Fantasy game since the ancient turn-based ones. I know it's magic that Square Enix can accidentally make just one good Final Fantasy game and it's the one that's important to me, so I'll take that. Starfield good at 30 frames per second. Episode 13 is saying, so I actually don't think Starfield was a particularly good 30, but it's a first-person game, which is much harder to look nice at 30.
Square Enix seem to have a real ability to not optimize any of their games.
They've definitely struggled. Like Forspoken was blurry as well, PlayStation version in particular, and the PC version of Forspoken barely even works for me. It's got this weird habit of just altering the lighting conditions every few seconds, like a bug in that one. But yeah, what else have I been playing? Baldur's Gate 3, nearly finished that. It's still brilliant. It gets good again at the end after a little lull in the pacing. Eradication, the combat, it's, if you liked remakes combat, it's the same with some more layers. There's just more things you can do between the characters. All the extra ones that they've added since then are just good to play as. I'm really enjoying just playing around with it at the moment, so we'll see if my opinion changes. I reckon I've got about 200 hours of gameplay left if I keep running laps around the field. But how many hours am I into Baldur's Gate 3? 120-ish maybe, like a good chunky playthrough of that one, but it is approaching its end.
3 discs 3 discs as well on the physical release for Xbox
4
or console.
They went up to 4. They were 500 meg over the size that they could fit onto 3 discs. So they've upped it to 4 at some minor personal expense, because they're probably only going to sell like 4 physical copies on Xbox, if we're being honest. Yeah, like it's just not. Game's been out for ages. Like if it had come out day and date with the physical edition, maybe they would have sold some. But I doubt there are many people, apart from Sammy Stern. I know of one person waiting for the physical edition on Xbox, but most people will just have downloaded it by now, I would think.
Chris String as well. He only seems to care about physical UK releases.
I'm not sure if he cares for buying physical UK releases so much as reporting on them, but yes, you could be right. Shall we talk about other games? No, let's go on to the topics. Let's go on to the topics that we got for today, and we're going to start with the biggest bit of news that's going around at the moment, which is Nintendo successfully stomping out Yuzu, their PC emulator for playing Switch games, and Citra, the 3DS emulator, has been taken down as a kind of collateral damage consequence as well, as it's made by the same people. So Yuzu is an emulator for Switch games so that you can play them on the PC, or so that you could play them on the PC, until Nintendo filed serious legal charges against them for enabling piracy and all this, that, and the other, which is a tricky area, because emulation, which is what the engine was like fundamentally designed to do, is generally considered a good thing by most people gaming. Emulation, ethically, for people that want to preserve games, play their Nintendo games over on a PC. We all know that the Switch isn't the most powerful bit of hardware, so people that want to use it legitimately are legally entitled to do that. They're quite well protected by law, which is why these things can usually exist for a long time. Unfortunately, piracy is not protected by law. Piracy is very much frowned upon, and when there was sufficient evidence that Yuzu was facilitating, enabling, and all the rest of it piracy, Nintendo were able to step in and get it shut down. That has happened. Yuzu have very quickly settled out of court. They are paying $2.4 million in damages, shutting down Yuzu, discontinuing their website presence, their name, and all the rest of it. And that is kind of over and done with, except that Yuzu was an open source engine, open source bit of code, open source program. So it is already available on the internet, and people have already picked it up and kind of taken the baton and are carrying on running with it. But generally, Chris, what do you think of this whole situation? What do you think of piracy in general? Are you on board with it? You know, you like your Skull and Bones, but, you know, software piracy.
I think obviously the emulation stuff, I agree with you. It's like the preservation of old consoles and games that obviously eventually die off. When I was reading the kind of legalities and some of the articles around it, as you rightfully pointed out, essentially Nintendo managed to latch onto the DRM, the fact that the Yuzu bypassed DRM, which is, as you said, enables piracy, and that was the thing that Nintendo's lawyers could latch onto. I think obviously $2.4 million, a lot of money. I think piracy is it's an odd one, really. So I can go back to a story. So when I first started at Psygnosis years ago, I used to know people who were connected with a lot of kind of like cracking groups and piracy groups. So your normal kind of groups that existed, like Fairlight and stuff, out of Finland and so on and so forth. And I remember seeing one of our builds of Formula One for PlayStation obviously appear. So I grabbed it, downloaded it, put it on, birds onto a disc and brought it in. And obviously said like we could have a look at what version it is, give us an idea of where it came from, because obviously it was being leaked from Psygnosis in Liverpool or the QA department, etc. And I remember the studio manager at the time taking the disc off me and just chucking it in the bin and just saying it doesn't matter. And it kind of altered the way I thought about piracy. I thought it was like this big bad thing that was kind of going to take jobs away from everyone and so on and so forth. And to just see someone kind of mindlessly just like chuck it away when I'd kind of gone to some trouble to. I wasn't trying to like get someone sacked. I was trying to understand, what build it was, where it was from and stuff like that. So obviously that's just one example, but it was quite clear that Sony and the powers that be were not really bothered by it. It wasn't harming sales enough. So it's a weird one, really. I don't think we have that much piracy anymore. Obviously, there's a lot of the stores allow DRM to kind of, and I'm not saying DRM is the right thing, but at least there's access to games at low enough cost at times, certainly when it comes to PC, where I don't really come across piracy that much. And obviously, main home consoles are even harder to kind of crack and bypass. For the average Joe, obviously, if enthusiasts want to do it, they'll do it. But I think it's definitely less of an issue when you look back to like Amiga days and early PC days and things like that, where you would just get floppy disks and CDs and DVDs just full of games and just be able to literally play anything that you wanted, really.
So there's I've got no idea what the kind of numbers are for piracy either. The number going around specific for Tears of the Kingdom was that 1 million people had pirated that before it even came out. But obviously, the fact that it wasn't out yet and it was available through these means is going to inflate the number quite drastically from people that are just enthusiastic to play it as soon as they can. I don't know what kind of standard piracy numbers are, but it's always hand in hand with the question about DRM, because a lot of people get very upset when they see their PC games, including the Nouveau or any kind of DRM. What do you think of that, Chris? Do you think it's wise, fair, stupid, draconian? Like, what's the deal when developers and publishers insist on DRM in their software?
I think so. Personally, for me, it doesn't really bother me. I think you've created a product, and I think certain publishers and developers want to try and offer a bit of protection or to stop the average Joe from potentially getting access or a utility which was easy enough. But as I say, going back to the days of kind of Fairlight and Skid Row and all the kind of old hacking groups and stuff, some of these guys that I knew were they were tech guys working at banks and stuff. Everyone expects like to sat at home with a mask on and a hood up and stuff. But they were guys in six-figure jobs and stuff like that, across America and different countries that were just utilizing the skills and ability to kind of crack games and bypass USB drives for things like Autodesk, AutoCAD, and stuff like that. So it was seen as this kind of like tech, this tech ability to bypass stuff. In terms of DRM, I think it's one of those. I'm not sure. I'm not sure like why many people get really kind of het up on it. As I say, it doesn't impact me. It doesn't affect me. I get the fact that obviously certain DRMs can kind of like slow the game down, cause issues, and so on and so forth. So I think of it as like a performance hit, or potentially in the future, you can't potentially play your game and things like that. But I think the same would be said if Valve shut down Steam or someone shut a store down. I think we had this conversation one of our episodes where you don't really own any of the films you stream and stuff like that. So if suddenly Sky went or Netflix went, or you see a lot of people cry about, oh, Netflix have put the price up, so I'm not going to pay for it anymore. Well, that individual has just lost access to whatever library that they had. And that's the issue we have with streaming services and things like that. If Nvidia wanted to shut down or so on and so forth, and people have been used to playing games or watching products on their services, they're gone. But I think it's the world in which we live now. You see physical games are not being sold, like Baldur's Gate, until the last minute and so on. So I think it's just a kind of situation for each individual, isn't it?
And Darge, I'll get to you in a second. I've got one more question for Chris on this. It's from episode 13, but it says a big one in this whole topic: are Nintendo being dicks by shutting down Yuzu?
For me, I think it's one of those where, have they seen like a material impact on the business? So I think if they can sit down and look and say, actually, this is having a material impact on our sales, people buying our consoles, etc., then playing devil's advocate, you could sit there as Nintendo and go, actually, this is a real material issue for the business, and we need to kind of put a stop to it. Part of me thinks it's not really having a material impact on their sales. I think a lot of people who are potentially emulating their games on PC would probably not be buying a Switch or whatever, and it gives them a way in. It gives them a higher fidelity performance version of a game that they may be interested in. And obviously, you've got the enthusiasts who want to preserve their kind of gaming library and stuff. And Nintendo have a right as the platform holder to put a stop to something, because what happens next is it potentially informs the next console, and then that's cracked pretty quickly, and so on and so forth. So they're probably just looking at self-preservation or protecting future products. Ethically, whether it's right or wrong, other people will have to decide for themselves.
For me, ethically, I would probably be inclined to side with them typically, in that they do have a right to protect their property, their IP, whatever else, and not just let people take whatever they want. Except that Nintendo are notorious for never reducing the prices of their games and things as well, which is like, there is a really difficult and nuanced discussion on what is ethical in terms of piracy, in terms of getting art and these creations out to people, and who should have a right to play, who should be kept out because of their financial situation or whatever else. And if it were like any company that tries to expand their audience and tries to get games to these people, then I'd be pretty firmly on their side, I think. But Nintendo do have this kind of aloof, like, well, if you can't afford this, then kind of fuck you forever. You're never going to play Breath of the Wild attitude to things, which does make them seem more villainous than they otherwise would. Darge.
Sorry, just on that.
Piracy. Go on.
Sorry to interject. Just on that, and obviously, it's only because I enjoy playing the devil's advocate game. It's not to say I disagree with anything you've just said. But obviously, Nintendo could turn around and go, well, actually, you can't afford a Switch, but you're using the emulator on your $3,000 PC to play our games or whatever. So, it's a weird one, I think. The thing which they could have, but then does it stop someone else doing it? The thing which they could have done it is won the case, taken the emulator down, and kind of gone, don't do it again. I think they kind of, give us 2.4 million dollars now, unless they've got evidence that they've made that money or significantly more money in the emulator. You know, did they sell it, so on and so forth? Then that's fine, but it's not like they're short of a few bob or two, is it? And why stop at 2.4 million? Why not go 100 million or whatever? So
Nintendo always go extra hard though to make a example of people, don't they? They'll fucking take you for anything.
To be fair, I wouldn't say they have gone extra hard in this case because they did accept settlement. But
yeah, and Yuzu, from what I've read about it, they'd had like Patreons, they'd had fundraisers, you know, this, that, and the other. That had generated money. I think they'd have got I know it's 2.4 mil, yeah, but I thought it would be a lot worse. You know what I mean? And I don't really care too much for Nintendo, and I don't really do too much emulation. But like, I do get like the thought process of, well, backwards compatibility. If they don't bring these games forward, like, I've got the option still to run these games, these ROMs and everything else. Like, you know what I mean? And Tony just put in the chat there about Nintendo. Was it Nintendo literally took ROMs from online and sold it back to consumers through emulators on their online store? But the thing is, like, the ROMs are Nintendo's, right? Pretty much all first party, right? So with regard to Yuzu, I think the straw that broke the camel's back was Tears of the Kingdom, because apparently Tears of the Kingdom was being played before it officially released through Yuzu, yeah? And like you say, Asa, it would be a lovely world if we could buy a Switch cartridge on our Switch console and it all worked perfectly and go, there's a piece of software there where I can rip this cartridge onto for a better performance, like you say, and everything been fine. But we're human beings, yeah? And someone is going to upload the game to the internet, and then fucking everyone gets it. So Nintendo, for as like aggressive as they can be, Yuzu's been around for a while as far as I'm concerned, and I think it was probably just a principle thing with Tears of the Kingdom. I mean, if you said it was 1 million people playing a more definitive version of that game on PC, that's a lot of money. Do you know what I mean? It's a lot of money that they lost, and, you know, when you think about it, would you, if you were playing it on PC, would you go, oh no, I've really got to play the Switch version? Like, you wouldn't. Like, I'm not being messy, but that's just how it is. So there's no winner like with this, because if you want to emulate your games, I feel you should have that option. There should be an agreement in place where you can, if you own a license to the cartridge, you shouldn't have to buy something twice, as far as I'm concerned. But that don't happen. That ain't the world that we live in. Yeah, everyone
kind of money. Is. Like, that is kind of legally protected. It might not be Nintendo's choice. They might want to stop that. But
because Yuzu, as far as I understand as well, Yuzu had guides on how to rip the game, get past the DRM, and you had to do all these fucking bits and pieces. I don't fully understand it, but if you understood it, you could run the game. Yeah, and obviously it must be fairly, because if you said 1 million people already played it before launch, then it must be fairly simple to do. So they had a guide on how to do that, but like you say, the real issue is people being trusted to not upload the file globally, and that's the piracy world that we live in. Like Chris said about Skid Row and all these other mob. I mean, all these hacking people and that back in the day, they used to race against each other to see who'd be the first to crack it, have like the ISO image, and boom, out the door. Yeah, and it was all reputation. We were the first to bang it. Like, I mean, you could get past like all these DRMs, and you could get past Steam, and you could run the game offline. You know what I mean? And we're human beings. Like, that's how it is. You know what I mean? And I think Nintendo, all the games they've had, I don't do Yuzu. Tony would tell me that. Do you know what I mean? But they all these previous games, this Switch gen, will operate and run on that game. I think it's literally a case that people were playing Tears of the Kingdom like a week or so before it launched, and they were like, "Nah, we got to knock this on the head."
It's difficult to confirm which way around it is on that one, because the Tears of the Kingdom situation did two things. One of them is, it was like materially damaging because the game wasn't out yet and it got big numbers of people downloading it. But two is that it gave them like segregated data. There was no way that any of the people who were recorded as playing this game could have got it legitimately. So when you've got, so Yuzu was collecting like anonymized data to say what people were using it for, and where they've got this data that says 1 million people were playing Tears of the Kingdom before launch, like, in a legal context, you could very directly point at that and say all of these were piracy. None of these were legitimate protected emulation, because they cannot have been, because there was no legitimate way to get hold of the game. So it gave them like a smoking gun, regardless of whether they wanted to shut it down for piracy's sake or whether they wanted to attack emulation because they don't like it and whatever else. Which, as Flash keeps saying, there are a lot of people that emulate legitimately. I am one of those people. It's quite storied that I've been waiting for years for a discount on Breath of the Wild. I could have done what so many other people do and said, well, that's too expensive for me, but I'm anti-corporation, so I'm just going to help myself and play it anyway. And that's my form of protest for not getting a discount. That's not a legitimate form of process, so that would be entirely like just me helping myself because I had the opportunity to, and I'm like just feel like stealing it, which is usually what it comes down to. Everyone that vocally defends piracy usually condense it all down. What it boils down to is they just want to play the game for free rather than any like ethical stance that they'll always claim. The people that actually pirate ethically don't talk about it. They're not proud of it. Like, and there are legitimate. There are many reasons that I would support piracy, but to just play a game because I want it doesn't sit right with me. So I've just been waiting. My protest against Nintendo was to not buy their game. That does not entitle me to play their game, is my stance, and I've been waiting for a long time.
just on that as well, though, like when you actually just look at it, like I know you said earlier in your bit about, you know, they're egregious with their fucking prices and they never give any sale and it's almost the best selling console ever. Like, like their business model, whether we like you said, we want something, we want it for nothing. Let's have it right. Like, if we can have it for nothing, we'll have it for nothing. Or if we can get a bargain price, we'll get it on a bargain price. They hold firm, yeah? So by logic, they should be failing, but they're not. Because people, that's Nintendo. People just go, it's Nintendo. I bought Mario Wonder for my boy. He's probably played about 2 hours of it. 60 quid, boom, gone. Like, it's because it comes with the territory. Do you know what I mean? If their sales started dwindling, and if they weren't almost like the best-selling console ever, best believe they'll be making changes. But until people stop buying the Switch, stop buying the software, why would they drop their prices? It's crazy. You know what I mean? I agree. I do agree. When you look at the competition, the console space with Xbox and PlayStation, always sales, this, that, and the other. It'd be like, we'd be looking at Xbox, like if they go, oh, we've had our biggest uptake in Game Pass subscribers, you know, just say for argument's sake when Hellblade drops, or at the end of this year they go, oh, we've had another 30 million people, so we're going to drop the price down to £5 a month. Everyone will go, well, how does that make sense? Like, do you know what I mean? So until they're not doing that and they're doing that, then they ain't going to change a lot, you know.
It is true. Chris, do you like Nintendo games?
I don't mind. I played Animal Crossing for far too long, like a lot of people when it came out. I've got a Switch Lite. Haven't played it for a long time, so I'm probably
not a fan of the Marios.
No, I mean a fan of original. Go back to the NES days, NES days, and things like that. Even N64, but it's just a kind of. It's a whole kind of console generation and stuff that I just kind of moved elsewhere for, to be honest. Nothing against it. A bit like Final Fantasy, kind of understand the appeal, understand how popular they are. You know, didn't play Zelda, Breath of the Wild, my brother did. Yeah, there's just certain games which I kind of, a bit like you guys at times, I have such a fine item of time that I need to kind of really jump into something that I like or appeals to me. So, but maybe when the Switch 2 comes out and stuff, it might be. I've started getting into handheld gaming a bit more on the ROG Ally and stuff. So maybe if there's a little bit more like fidelity and quality with the Switch 2, it might be something that I pick up and start to kind of get back into again.
Yeah, I would piggyback on that as well, just quickly. With this Switch 2, like, Obviously, I'm Sega, I'm Sonic, I'm Mario as well. Like, I'm platformers. Like, that's what I grew up on. You know what I mean? So when I got the Switch for Charlie, I got Mario Wonder, and I started messing about with it, and it's actually fun. Do you know what I mean? But for me, like, the Switch hardware is very, very limited with what it can do. You know what I mean? In regards to the AAA space, third party. Do you know what I mean? So if the Switch 2 was like coming up on a par or beyond like Steam Deck, for example, it would be a lot more appealing. If it had a lot more third party coming, it would be a lot more appealing. I feel like Chris. Do you know what I mean?
For me, I don't care for that at all. For people that like handheld stuff, I'm not disagreeing with you, but personally, I don't play things on the go, so its handheld capabilities are not a plus for me. I'd much rather they had better not desktop, but better TV capability. And if they were to do that, I don't need them to have the same suite of third parties as Xbox and PlayStation and PC have got. I don't need Call of Duty or whatever. I'm quite happy for Nintendo to have their own flavor and feel and different set of third party and first party games. That's not a problem at all, but I would definitely like some new hardware. And if they were to actually do an official emulator on the PC that costs money, I'd be very willing to do that. Or obviously actual PC releases would be ideal. That's Nintendo. We love all of the games.
I agree with you there, Race. Actually, I never. You know what? I've just got so used to thinking of Nintendo as a handheld device. Obviously, you had Game Boys, Advances, and this, that, and the other. And then in between, you had like GameCubes and Wii's. But then they've gone back to the sort of handheld thing. And obviously, N64 before everyone fucking flames me in the chat. But, like, I think if the Switch 2 had much better TV capability, that would be a massive plus for me as well. So, I agree with you, our leader.
No, don't do that. Saying that about Nintendo, though, I've ignored their console largely for the 7 years that it's been out. And then a couple of weeks ago, we were playing Mario Kart on the Sunday, and I was actually well impressed by how it handles its online. I get that I've always criticised it for how far behind the other consoles it is on its social infrastructure, its party systems, its friend codes, and all of that shite. But then I actually played it using Discord to talk to everyone. And for what it is with its voting system and its like nice, happy, no words communication and all of that, I can see, because of how people are online on the consoles that do allow your voice, I can definitely see the appeal of Nintendo setup. Like, even if they had the capability to do voice chat, friends, proper social systems, actually in some ways not being able to talk to people and not having to listen to people is kind of nice. So I'm slowly coming around to Nintendo and enjoying them a lot more than I used to. I'm going to get some more Mario Kart in, maybe try some Smash and things like that. Anyway, let's talk about going from Nintendo to another, everybody's favorite publisher. Let's talk about EA. Last week, can't remember what day. I actually didn't think we were going to talk about this today, but Darge mentioned it, and it occurred to me that we haven't had one of these shows since EA came out and announced their change in strategy. It was a bit of a surprise, because most of the industry, to mitigate the risk of these really high budgets of games and things, there's been a big move towards licensed IP games, your Spider-Mans, your Disney, Star Wars, all of that kind of stuff. And EA have said, actually, those cost quite a lot. We're going to pull back our focus on those. They've still got Iron Man in the works. They've still got Black Panther in the works, and they've still got a Jedi game in the works. But broadly, they want to refocus on their own IP, their sports games, and their established live service things. And they cancelled the Mandalorian game that Respawn were making on. Darge, are you a Star Wars fan? Were you looking forward to the Mandalorian game from Respawn, or would you rather they do their own projects?
Well, no, I'd look forward. I mean, I was looking forward to that rumored id Software. Even that wouldn't happen. But anyway, yeah. I mean, I see all the outrage about it, and listen, Star Wars is a huge IP alone. So one of the hottest things out of Star Wars of late is the Mandalorian. The fact that you might have got a Mandalorian game, I can see the mass appeal for it. But EA shifting focus, like, it is a surprise, but then it ain't a surprise, because like you just listed off there, they've got a load of licensed IP either in the work or released. They've already got Star Wars, franchise and Jedi. It all costs money, yeah. And what have EA just done this year? They haven't paid out for one of their biggest licenses in FIFA, and their game sold really well. And now they're probably looking at that, and they remade Dead Space, one of their IPs, and put that out. That probably did better than they probably thought. Yeah. And now they've looked at it and gone, why are we giving Disney all this money? Like, don't get me wrong, The Mandalorian, any sort of Star Wars game will sell if it looks well, even if it
People are
don't
saying
fall
they
well.
can't. Sorry, Darge. People are saying they can't hear you in the chat.
People are saying they can't hear me.
All
You were a
saying
bit
you're very
quiet, not
low.
silent. I've boosted
That's
you a
silent
bit.
enough for people. Well, yeah, but FIFA. So Replicant says FIFA is crap. Yeah, it is crap, but it's not for EA because it makes them a lot of money every year. So look, like they've probably looked at Dead Space. They've probably looked at FIFA going on their own, and that was a success. You know, people were crying for a Titanfall 3, weren't they? You know, they might go and finally give you a Titanfall 3. You know, I know what it is. It's the Mandalorian. It's the Star Wars IP. That's a killer. I'm a little like, I do like licensed stuff. Don't get me wrong, but I do also like original IP. You know what I mean? Something new, something that we ain't done before. So I ain't like, you know, it's a killer because Respawn are good as well. Do you know what I mean? But it's not.
Is there not like a blend? Is there not like a blend of two things here? Because didn't Warner Brothers say they're gonna
I was
move
going to
away
get to
from their
Warner Brothers.
AAA what and done games, which is obviously similar to EA? So they're saying they're not going to make like Harry Potter games and stuff anymore, and going to concentrate.
They're a bit different though.
Mobile.
So Warner Brothers have got an unusual take, but it's not quite the same as EA's, because what Warner Brothers has said is they're going to move away from one and done console games. They want to work on live service. They want to work on mobile and all of that kind of stuff, which is really weird because if you look at Warner Brothers previous year, their only massive success was their one and done console game. It was the Hogwarts Legacy. And everything that they've done in the live service space, like Mortal Kombat probably did all right for itself, but it's, again, more or less a live service game. Suicide Squad was a bomb. Gotham Knights was a bomb. And they're looking at these numbers going, well, that one worked. Let's move away from that. Don't like that anymore. Bit too successful. Let's do entirely Suicide Squads from now on, which seems like madness from the outside. And I don't know what they're looking at to come to that conclusion. But they have. But EA is a bit different because EA haven't said that they're going to move away from the one and done single player console games within their spiel, because they've got things like the Jedi Survivor game and the Dead Space game. EA went through what Warner Brothers are doing a few years ago, and they did largely move away from these kind of projects. But they had a lot of success with Dead Space, and they had a lot of success with Jedi Survivor, and they kind of got back on to doing single-player console games. What they've said here doesn't necessarily refute that. It just says that they're not going to focus on neither licensed IP and also not new IP. Like that looks like a casualty of what they're saying as well, is they're probably not going to try anything that isn't already established. Both of you like football. There's a little bit of a conversation going on in chat at the moment that I want to touch on around FIFA. We'll get back to EA broadly afterwards, but FIFA. Darge, you like football? Chris, you like football? Do you like FIFA or whatever it's called now? EA FC? No. Tell me why not?
I, in my personal opinion, like I say, all this stuff you were saying before about like EA sort of sticking with a single player and this, that, and the other. I think the FIFA, I'd be really interested to see EA's financials, because they were making ridiculous amounts of money, like with FIFA, yeah. So now
they still are with EA.
No. But that's what I'm getting at, is the fact that now they don't have the licensing or any of that business. You don't know what that deal really was. Like, you know, like sometimes you go, you pay a fee and you can use our name, yeah. Whereas they could have been tied in a certain generation of money, this, that, and the other. So maybe EA.
FIFA. Sorry, mate. FIFA wanted basically billions off them to renew the license. That's why EA went, you can do one. Yeah,
exactly. So they fucked them off, made their own game, which really transitioning from FIFA to EAFC was like, well, this is the new FIFA. Like, do you know what I mean? They've done a good job of the marketing. Like, everyone's gone over there. I think FIFA are now trying to get in bed with 2K, but by the time they even get their finger out, it'll be done. Like, it'll be done. And like I say, they're generating a lot of money, whereas WB, just quickly going back to that, they're trying to chase that live service dream. They're trying, like you say, regarding like Hogwarts, I think they should stick with that, but clearly their motives are to try and get something that will stick in the live service space and make them.
I mean, they
loads of
probably
money.
will stick with Hogwarts. I think a lot of press have just picked up the fact, or just presumed that they're going to drop. Yeah, they're going to drop Hogwarts. I mean, the other thing which
to be fair, that's Warner Brothers' example, though. Just like real quick, because their example was that they would like a Harry Potter game that's a live service that you stay in forever.
Yeah.
So they're kind of making that comparison themselves, that they don't want it to be Hogwarts Legacy. They want it to be Hogwarts Online.
Yeah, the other thing which we're probably not focusing on too much is they've had like really good, successful. They've had a successful time in the mobile market. So, as we've mentioned before, Warner Brothers was an owner of Playdemic. EA bought it for 1.4 billion. So they got money that some developers and publishers can only dream of in one mobile deal. But I think it's the flavour of the month, isn't it? Everyone's trying to latch onto
over the last 8 years,
live service game, and just kind of going, oh, actually, if we create an environment, I mean, you've only got to look at like Dune Awakening. It's going to be this, MMO. It's going to be this kind of live service game. So everyone's kind of chasing it and trying to latch just onto the EA thing. So obviously. I'd heard it's a bit of a power play as well, which might not necessarily be getting reported on at the moment. But obviously, they're not quite happy with like Disney's take of licensed IP. So I think they've bumped it up from 20% to like 33% or something. So EA are doing a bit of a power play and saying, actually, then we'll drop your Star Wars games and do that stuff yourself. So I think it'll be interesting to just see how it plays out over the coming weeks and months and stuff. I don't know whether it'll save the Mandalorian game, but there's a lot of flexing going on, isn't there?
That on that point initially that you brought up as well, like me and Chris like football and this day. Obviously, I can't speak on Chris, but for me personally, FIFA every year, Ultimate Team. You see it in the chat there, Ultimate Team. Yeah, it's like I'm loose with money anyway. Like, I just buy shit for buying shit. But that game was taking the piss out of me. Like I was like paying my 60 or my 50 quid or whatever, and I don't even play career mode anymore. Back in the day, you used to get West Ham and you'd go and win the Champions League with them, and you'd be like, "Oh, this is fucking brilliant." But now it was just Ultimate Team. That's all you was playing. And Ultimate Team, you'll get people who will go, well, you don't have to spend real money, but let's have it right. A lot of us are going to cut corners and invest, and buy.
Well, I'd argue there's more gambling attached to that than there is for that card game.
Belgium agree with you, but the rest of the world, there's too much money. But like, it gets to a point where obviously I started actually playing other games, and then my time, like Chris said earlier, was very limited. I'm not going to spend it playing 15 matches of FIFA a night and spending fucking £80 trying to pack some super rare card and then still get whipped by some 13-year-old kid. You know what I mean? It gets to a point where you're like, the game, on average, you're probably spending about minimum 300 quid a year. I would have been, a yearly FIFA. This is why it's a cash cow. This is why FIFA themselves wanted the money that they wanted, because every single year with FIFA or EAFC or whatever, obviously there's new people coming into the gaming space. And football is the biggest sport in the world. I'll fight anyone over that. It just is. So there's always new football fans every single year. New players, new people with money, new people starting work, new people loose with cash. That's just printing money all day long for them. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And it weren't for me in the end. I just can't. I'm not that bad anymore.
Well, EA did a really interesting thing on FIFA. Is they did a load of sessions across like 13 to 30-year-olds, and basically said, when we mentioned the word FIFA, I don't know why it's thumbs up. When we mentioned the word like FIFA, what does that mean to you? And I think it was something ridiculous, like 97% of those groups said the football game. Yeah. And actually very few people knew it was a governing body of football.
Yeah.
So in certain areas and stuff like that. So that's why they then determined to drop the FIFA license. And actually, if we create the AFC, we actually own this,
Yeah.
this
Was,
kind of area of football. On
I think there was
consoles and
something
PC.
around FIFA insisted that it wasn't going to be an exclusive license anymore as well, unless they really upped how much they paid for it. And so they were able to get FIFA as a license, but they weren't going to be the only ones, because if they got that licensing deal, there would also be a FIFA game from whoever else bid and wanted it. In the way that Star Wars will do multiple Star Wars, like Disney will do multiple Star Wars games and all the rest of it. Now FIFA wanted to go that route to get themselves more money because they are notoriously greedy. But I still want to come back to Chris. I want to know if FIFA is a good game at its core. Is it? Do they execute football well?
No. So, not for me. The issue is for me it kind of started to go down the pan a bit when they insisted on using Frostbite engine. And I don't know. I mean, many people in the chat have probably seen it on Instagram. There's like FIFA accounts where it's kind of FIFA going wrong. And I think I've sent a few to Darge where like players are like snapped in half and wheelbarrowing other players and stuff. There's just like loads of mental stuff goes on with the physics. I don't particularly like the gameplay. I've always been a Pro Evo fan, so going all the way back to Pro Evo always felt much more natural in terms of football and stuff. But obviously, the issue was they were very loose on kind of licenses, and in football, you need real kits, real teams, real licenses, and so on and so forth. So that's why they were never really going to get anywhere with like the mainstream. But I think Darge just the same. Like me and Darge always prefer Pro Evo over like.
I was just gonna say, like, for me the best football game ever was Pro Evo 4. Like, it was for its time. If I went back and played it now, I'd probably be like, oh, this is shit. But it was like, as far as games went, it was really good. But on the FIFA point, yeah, I guess the Frostbite thing is like, there's very little. Don't get me wrong, right? For EA, it's clever. Do you know what I mean? Because they've been in bed with FIFA for probably 30 years, Chris. Like 94 is probably as far back as I can remember. Like,
they paid like 200 grand. They paid like 200 mil or something for the license.
Yeah,
it was like, and then FIFA, as Asa said, like turns around in recent times and went, if you want exclusivity again, we want like 10 billion off you or something. And EA just went, nah.
But what EA have done is like they've had a 30-year affiliation with the organisation of FIFA. But now they have become bigger than the brand of FIFA. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So EA Sports, to name it EAFC, and still have all the real player likeness, the kits, the stadia, all this gear, yeah? Anyone from the outside looking in is go, oh, they just changed the name. Like, that's still the same game. Like, they don't care. Like, that's them for life. I mean, I would be absolutely fucking gobsmacked if another football game came out. Because Konami have bent the knee. They don't give a shit no more. But if just say 2K, for example, make a game with FIFA that is better than FIFA. Because you've got to remember as well, a lot of people are invested in that Ultimate Team game mode. That is FIFA now. Yeah. So unless 2K came to market with a like-for-like, I know they do it in their basketball games, but with a like-for-like competitor, I just don't see it happening. I think it's done.
See, I think FIFA is kind of awful, and there's a couple of comments in chat that kind of summarize my thoughts, and it's nothing to do with the licensing and all of that kind of stuff and how much money it makes, but more the core gameplay. Episode 13 is telling you that it's not got loads of bugs and the animations are really good. I agree with him, the animations are really good, but Thomas said that the old Pro Evo games were awesome. He's not a football fan, it was just a fun video game, and that's what FIFA completely misses for me for the last quite a long time. Is they've done a phenomenal job, like really freaking talented dev team there that have done a phenomenal job of chasing the presentation of football. And they've got something where you can stick it on a TV, put it on in front of your granddad, not like we're pretty old and our granddads are long gone, I'm sure, but put it on in front of your granddad would just say, and they can look at that and you could fool them into thinking that they're watching a Sky Sports presentation. And this is just football. You're watching football now. They've done a fantastic job of making it look like a TV presentation of football, and a way less fantastic job of making it a fun video game. It's just not, it doesn't feel responsive and nice in your hands like it used to in the olden days when they were not animated so well, when it was not all physics driven, when it was not meant to look like real life. And it was a game-ass game rather than a depiction of sport.
For me, it's a beat 'em on a football pitch because you've just got all your flip-floppy moves now, and you play online with, as Darge said, some 13-year-old. And it just flip-flops around your players with like ridiculous kind of spins and stuff where you would just snap them in real life if it was real football. So it doesn't even emulate the sport for
Yeah,
me. Anyway.
it's not, and then you get the people who just have just no life the game and they know all the methods to just walk through ya, and just don't even get me on FIFA. I can't even be bothered to talk about it. The anger was
I
too
think
much.
if the older games, if your favorite, if Pro Evo 4 existed in the era of like online play like we have now, you'd find so much cheese in it. It was a different time back then. You were playing locally.
Yeah, and also what it was with Pro Evo was FIFA before Pro Evo 4, particularly, was very scripted. Do you know what I mean? You'd only have to sort of like semi-lean in the direction of push pass, or you could double tap shoot, and it would always whack a screamer into the top corner, and it was, you kind of knew how it's going to play out. Where Pro Evo 4,
isometric one, you could stand in front of the keeper when he went to kick it off, and it'd hit you and go.
Yeah, it was very scripted. Like, and then when Pro Evo came out, it felt like you had control. It felt like you had the power bar, which felt like it had significance because you could go too far with a crossfield ball and it'd go out of touch. And it was just so good. 4, 5, and 6, Konami fucking dropped a clanger with that game big time because they took their eye off of it, and FIFA come back better for it, you know. But anyway, it's enough soccer ball.
That's enough soccer ball. That's enough EA. That's enough live service games. Chris, you mentioned this one going into the show. Tell me about Dune Awakening. Complete, like, just ditch that previous topic. We're moving on. Here comes Dune Awakening.
So yeah, I watched the presentation yesterday or the day before, whichever day it was. It all blurs into one. The week. Sounds really good. Obviously, there was a new gameplay trailer, which I'm sure you'll pop on at some point.
At moment, yeah.
It was a little bit sparse. There was a bit of kind of obviously mock-ups or a little bit of a vertical slice at times, but I think the general idea of being in that kind of Arrakis environment. So you obviously start as, from my understanding of what the game director was saying or creative director, you kind of start as a nobody and you can become kind of like a crafter or a trader, or if you want to just like fly people around in ornithopters and stuff like that, you can do that, and you can kind of just live your life and enjoy the world in that way. Or if you want to become, the Baron of the Harkonnens or another faction, then you can start to kind of carry out missions and move up in the rankings to that level. So it sounds really good. I mean, they're building it Unreal Engine 5. I think the visuals are looking good. Not necessarily on the gameplay trailer. So there's a few bits which look a bit kind of unpolished or unfinished, but there's environmental things which look amazing. So yeah, I'm quite interested. Obviously, it's Funcom. I'm not sure, without looking into it, if the existing team has worked on other things before or whether they've been put together for this project.
The existing team,
so yeah, I mean, the creative director sounded really excited by it. I think there's nice kind of ambition within the title. Whether they can fulfill that, we'll have to wait and see. I think there's been a few closed betas. I think you can sign up for the closed betas still, and hopefully get in and help them kind of shape the game and stuff. But I like Dune as a film, as a set of books, as previous games. So it'll definitely be something I'll take a look at.
So do you know? You might not, but do you know, are they positioning this as an MMO or a more typical survival game?
So they position it as a survival MMO. A blend.
Curious. There's a lot of survival games we've been playing at the moment, and we've got servers for a bunch of them on the Discord as well. For like 16, 32 people, depending on how many people it is. I think Conan Exiles was server based and maybe up to 100-ish. But the Conan game they did before that was an MMO, like a proper everybody plays together kind of situation. I don't know if you know the size and scope of this.
But with a survival element to it, and as the guy was saying, you play it the way you want to play it. So, as I say, if you want to just crack on and kind of taxi people around and craft weapons and so on and so forth that you can sell, then so be it. If you want all the power, then you can start working up the ranks and try to affiliate yourself with different factions and kind of work with those. So what they're saying sounds like it's got potential, and it's obviously got me interested enough that I've signed up for the closed beta. So I mean, if I get obviously a beta slot, then great. I'll be able to have a look at it before it's released. And yeah, good on them choosing Unreal 5. Hopefully, we've got really good visuals and stuff to match as well as gameplay.
Yeah. Darge, are you interested in the game at all? Do you know of it?
June is it's like it's one of them films that like I see when the first one come out, people were like high horsing. Like, oh, what a fantastic bit of cinema! If you didn't like this, you don't appreciate real cinema. That shit fucking turns me off bad. That's why I don't watch Avatar. Oh, James Cameron, what a fucking masterstroke. Nah, I ain't gonna watch it. So I've never really. I think the most interested I've been in the June IP so far is them popcorn buckets that they were handing out. They look quite fun. But yeah, nah.
Definitely watch the film. Not for. I'm not going to tell you because
If I watch the film, and I come out of it, if I come out of that film and go, and you go, "How was the film?" and I go, "Yeah, it was all right. Like, it weren't bad." Are you going to go, you didn't understand it? If I get any of that, I won't bother watching a film like that.
No, I think there's only one person who would say that here, but
yeah, I know.
And we know who that is. Messi.
Yeah. But yeah. So but I watched your little trailer that you showed there. It looks like another survival MMO type game in that universe. Yeah, more of those, I suppose.
What's the other one that's been going this week? There was another game from the Ori people. What's that called?
It's called
No Rest for the Wicked.
No Rest for the Wicked.
Yeah, have you been
early access next month? Isn't it? Yeah, I'll be on that.
I have wish listed it.
Yeah,
already. Looks.
Are you going to play it during the early access period, or are you going to wait till it comes out?
Early access, all the way.
I'll have a look. I mean, at least they're doing half the job right because they're actually announcing a fucking roadmap for the first year, like before they've even let it out yet. Instead of going, "Oh, don't worry, just play it. Stuff is coming." Like, you know what I mean? There is a plan there. Whether they execute
plenty of meat on the bone as well already. Sorry to cut across me. I think there's plenty of meat on the bone already. I think there's a lot of like balancing and stuff that's being done. Persistent worlds and changing worlds and stuff. I think rightfully so. They've just kind of opened it up and gone, look, if we get fans that love action RPGs and what we do, then we can get the balancing right, or we can get feedback. I don't think it's going to be a kind of, the day after tomorrow. Well, we know for a fact it's not going to be a day after tomorrow, like broken game, which is going to be really difficult to kind of get through. But it just, I mean, Moon is such a talented studio, and it's all hand painted again. It's like hand animated. It's just a phenomenal looking game, and the combat's all.
So I'm obviously going to play it at some point.
Yeah.
It's passed my test already in the trailer by having a good storm, but does it have any kind of multiplayer component?
I can't remember whether they actually mentioned co-op in the kind of developer deep dive that it is. I can't remember for the life of me. I'd have to have a look again. I don't think so.
For me, the only way that I'd play it in early access was if it was a co-op experience that you needed to kind of ride the wave of when everybody else is playing it. And as it's not, even though it looks good and it looks like it's already in a good kind of state, it'll be in a better state when it comes out. I'm not going to want to play it again when it comes out if I went through it in early access. So I'm going to be really freaking patient.
It's got on that early access roadmap. So again, this falls into the roadmap of early access. The launches, and then the first update is going to be the multiplayer. Then the second is the breach. And then beyond that will be further updates. So multiplayer is the first thing they're going to stick in the game in early access.
The blood sprays are really good. So there's a slim chance.
I mean, they've had when did the last Ori come out? 2020? So like about 4 years ago. So they've had a fair bit of dev time. They've had a fair bit of dev time to. I don't think I'd like to hope they're not the type of team that would just fucking rush launch something in early access in a bit of a 2 and 8. and go, don't worry, we'll tidy this up over time. So hopefully the
No.
base of the game's decent, and then they'll just add on to it, you know.
Still doesn't
I think
like,
they mentioned
that's going to be
they've
true of
been
Hades
working
as
on it
well,
for
though.
years.
For me,
Yeah.
I'm not even going to play Hades 2 in early access because it's going to be better in its launch version. That's just my general approach to early access games. I don't want to play the unfinished version.
What if I
Unless
gifted
this
to
type
you,
of game is a roadmap game, so unless it is kind of you don't lose your progress, there's more and more kind of added to the
Dungeons.
world. People can
Mm.
start again from the beginning, and obviously progress through. I think the devs were talking about a really nice mechanic. So basically, just quickly, like the game revolves around this village or this town, and you can obviously buy property in there and kit out your house, and you can create, put different elements in, so you can make weapons, craft, and so on and so forth in your own home base, so to speak. And then it's the world around that which has kind of been invaded by various like creatures and factions and other things. And once you clear a section and you go back home and you start to kind of level up your armor and so on and so forth, if you then venture through that section again, like a different race or different set of enemies or enemy type, faction type has gone back into that area. So it changes slightly when you go back in. So it's got fish in there.
I don't like fishing in game.
You can catch certain fish, which will obviously have
fishing in a storm,
particular scales that make like special armor and so on. I think you can see them obviously crafting different objects at home. And the animations, you can see where it's like, fettling woods and stuff like that. The animations are unbelievably good.
The whole game, like, it does look really nice in general. The little attention to detail is the thing that sets it apart from a lot of other kind of isometric games. And like when I was talking about the blood being good, because a lot of games will have blood and gore, but it was just the way that it slashed in the direction of the sword swing onto the floor and stayed there seemed pretty persistent. Details like that, the way the light and shadow is moving, it's a very nice looking game. I do want to play this, but not in early access.
I love the way Moon, Moon always described their games as like they want people to feel like they're playing a living painting or whatever. I think obviously they've got some incredible concept artists. You've only got to look at the visuals on the screen now. I think like the mood, the light, and the animation. I like the fact that it's animated combat, so it's all weighted combat. You've got as you dodge, you've got weight in your dodge and things like that. So yeah, definitely jump on it. And when me and Darge are drooling all over the game, I'm sure you'll join early access when we gift early access to your Asa.
Yeah, we'll just buy you. Just fine.
We'll just keep buying your copies, so you've got about 800 copies.
We're ex-FIFA. We're ex-FIFA players. We're relenting. We'll just keep throwing money at it.
It's also, I think they said it's direct control, right? So it's not click to move either. It's very different to the other action RPGs in that you look at like a Diablo or like most other ones, Path of Exile, whatever. They have like many enemies, whereas this one looks more deliberate in its pacing. Not to say that it's accidental in the hectic ones, but it's a lot slower. There's a lot less going on. But direct control, I don't like click to move very much. So it's nice to hear that it's focused on
direct control, twin shooter thing. I mean, wait until you see this big enemy that appears in a minute because I think they're talking about the end game now, so they're talking about revisiting an area. And you've got these guys with like big hammers and stuff. Like some of the combat.
Yeah, there's one there now. Yeah, I want to play this. Yeah,
you will.
Yeah, I do.
You will play it. I want to know how Replicant from the Discord who plays everything virtually feels like he plays everything. He's never played an Ori game. That's shocking. I'm gonna have to gift him it.
Yeah, there's a nice. I think there's out of nowhere. Look,
Replicant's got Game Pass, hasn't he? You don't need to gift him it if he's got it. They're still on there, I think. Both the Ori games are still on Game Pass, right?
Brilliant Metroidvania game.
Yeah, I think they were paid for, weren't they? Or the development was assisted with Microsoft.
Published by Microsoft. You're bad.
So this is out on PC first, and then comes the consoles afterwards. So. Will it arrive?
What we're going to do is we're going to move on to our community questions. Unless were there any topics that I've forgotten about that I promised we'd talk about and then completely missed? Because that usually happens. Nah, they don't know, so we're fine. That means
you
we
were
can go
talking
on
about
to
Toys for Bob going indie, but I don't know if that's
Toys for Bob.
Saber.
I've gone indie, and Saber have bought their independence from Embrace. So Toys for Bob have left Microsoft and Activision to go independent. Darge is being accosted, which is fine. Yeah, I mean, anything that you want to say about it in particular, Chris? What's going on particularly with Toys for Bob first? How did they get away?
Not really. I mean, you know what social media is like, so everyone tries to go, oh, it's big bad Microsoft have driven them away and so on and so forth. But obviously, I think from past, in terms of Insomniac and stuff like that, we've seen Microsoft have been, I'm not saying, the greatest, gift to corporations going, but they have allowed other developers and so on to leave, and go about their own business and stuff, and obviously take IP with them. So yeah, I haven't really read too much into it. I just saw myself they've gone indie, and obviously I know nothing about the Saber stuff, so be interested for you.
So Saber is a little bit different. In terms of Toys for Bob, nobody knows like the deals, the details of the deal that got them their independence. They announced that they had gone indie, but there was no word of like how much that had cost them, if anything, or what kind of arrangement they have in place with Microsoft, other than a vague hint that they're still going to partner with them to make something. With Saber Interactive is a bit different because Embracer is a massive shit show trying to recoup as much money as they possibly can to put out some of the fires that they've started. So Saber Interactive bought their way out of their own publisher to go independent. It cost their owners like $500 million, I think. Could be wrong, but $500 million. In much the same way that it's rumored that Gearbox are going to try and buy their way away from Embracer as well. They were up for sale, like very, very specifically, they were up for sale for high bidders. But it was said that if they didn't get a suitable bid from the Microsofts, the Amazons, whoever else it might be, then they could afford to buy themselves and go independent as well. So options on the table for them. Yeah, I don't know. You got anything that you want to say on it, Darge? I think you were the one that wanted to talk Toys for Bob. You got anything? Do you like Spyro?
Toys for Bob
Crash?
is no. Did you know
3D
what?
platformer guy. You said so.
No, but
come on.
I am. Yeah.
He likes killing dogs, though.
I just yeah. I only in games, people. I don't actually go out fucking killing dogs.
That's been clipped. That's on Twitter.
Yeah.
He likes killing dogs.
The dog killer. No. Toys for Bob, though, for me, that feels like a big loss for Microsoft. Because for me, again, like you look at the Game Pass, look at what it offers you. It offers you quite a lot. It offers you like, RPGs, fucking racers, this. But they ain't got enough like family, platform-esque type games. So when they got Activision, like obviously we're all like, well, yeah, you get fucking Blizzard, they get, Call of Duty, you get this, that, and the other. But then they was also getting this team that could knock out a Crash 4. You know what I mean? They could knock out a fun to play 3D platforming game. And it's good for them. It's good for them. You know what I mean? They can go away, they can do whatever they want. But I just think, why have Microsoft let them go? Because obviously they let them go if they say we really want to go and we don't want to be here. But other than that, like I just think it's a bit of a loss for Microsoft personally.
It might give the creativity back, mightn't it? Because I think they've been supporting COD.
Well, and also they came out and said that they've got their independence, but they're in talks for a deal with Microsoft and it or something. So they want to act independent, get away from ABK, but then they also want to get in bed with Microsoft. So maybe them getting their independence isn't a big loss for Microsoft. Maybe they said like, yeah, that's fine, but we want you to partner with us in, developing.
It could be a head counting as well. Obviously, we know that Microsoft Activision had to lay off a number of individuals and stuff, and maybe that studio has nothing kind of in the mix at the moment, and that studio could have gone. And then there was a conversation of actually we can go independent. That you guys fund a project for us. Obviously, that looks different on the books because your headcount's been lowered anyway, and it doesn't matter about refunding another studio. So maybe there's just something as well that we're not privy to, which has just helped them out as a studio, and obviously Microsoft reduced that headcount.
Good
Yeah,
shout.
that's my thinking as well, Chris. That I reckon that there was a fair chance that if they hadn't gone independent, they were just getting closed down, and this works out mutually better for both parties than doing that. You're right, they wouldn't have had any particular projects in the works because they have been a Call of Duty support studio, so it would have been hard for Microsoft to justify keeping them on to make a brand new Spyro or Crash. Darge, you mentioned that they don't have family games, but they've got, like, Bluey went on Game Pass a couple of weeks ago. They've got Paw Patrol and SpongeBob this week. These are family games, but in terms of getting to a question, Darge, do you think that if Microsoft were to stick a Crash or a Spyro or a Banjo or a traditional like 3D platformer out into the wild, is that like sensible on their part? Is there a demand for 3D platformers on Xbox?
Well, you just don't know. Like, at the end of the day, if they're creating this service in Game Pass, and they want it to reach all these people, why box yourself away from a certain genre? Whether or not, listen, Call of Duty sells, Fortnite sells, to a degree. I know they're free-to-play games. What I'm saying is people are invested in them, Why, when you're not offering, your last offering on first party was Lucky's Tale, or Battletoads, come on, let's get real. And then Toys for Bob are whacking out. They're doing Crash. They're doing Crash. I don't. That's just how I talk. But they're doing Crashes. They're doing Spyros. I'm not a big Banjo guy, but they're sitting on the IP, and it's just like it's just another box to tick. You know what I mean? Like if it goes into the mobile, like there's more people doing the cloud Game Pass stuff. You don't want to be doing a heavily competitive first-person shooter. You know what I mean? If you're just like Gamesley on the series show, he says about Brotato, these easy-to-play, platformers. Like I personally, for me, I just think Xbox need a bit of that right now. Do you know what I mean? Just a fun-to-play platformer. But yeah, I'm a platformer guy, aren't I?
I've still got the whole they've got the Spyro and the Crashes from the back catalogue to add on there, so I guess they can put those in and see if people actually do care about these things or not, more so than they've already seen from sales.
I want new, like putting old games. People have experienced those games, so then you're limiting the amount of uptake in it. You know what I mean? I'm talking about new Crash 5, Game Pass exclusive. You know what I mean? I'm talking things that might possibly move the needle instead of going, well, I'll tell you what, let's put this old game in as a test. And if it doesn't do that well, then we'll give up on that because that ain't how it works. You need something fresh. You know what I mean? Let them create a new IP of their own or the new Banjo and then see where the needle goes with it. You know what I mean? But, like I say, they could have agreed a deal for them to work on the new Banjo, but as an independent team, like Chris said, to get the headcount down. So it may still happen, but like I say, it was just a bit out of it was just like, oh, they're gone, and it was like, what? Like, because that was a team who I thought they needed, but anyway, whatever.
Anyway, yeah, I got nothing to add on that. So, unless you got anything you want to say on that, Chris, we'll get on to our questions.
No question time. Let's do it.
We love some questions. Let's have the first of our little community questions on the Q&A box. You can, if you've not seen this before, we have got a Discord as well, and you can stick your questions in there throughout the week, but Isla filters through them and picks out the best ones for us. Here we go. Replicant has asked, Sony are changing what PlayStation IP or IPs resting in Jim Ryan's graveyard of killed games would you bring back? Well, Chris, you're allowed to pick your own. Yeah, there we go.
Was Pandemonium first party on the PlayStation, or was that like some second party or third party exclusive that they swooped up back when they
never heard of it?
Sega? Pandemonium. Oh mate,
I think it was. I don't know. It wasn't first.
It was that Carnage game with the Jester and all that, wasn't it? It was like a proper trip. Yeah.
Is that what you want to bring back, Pandemonium?
I'll bring that back.
If it was theirs.
Yeah, bring it back. I mean, they brought Medieval back, and that didn't do that well, did it? Really?
No.
So.
I mean, if I was...
even though there's a few games like that now as well, is it SOCOM?
Yeah. SOCOM.
Yeah, bring that sort of tack shooter back. I mean, I would like Rainbow Six, Vegas 3.
Yeah, there was rumour that Guerrilla Games was potentially looking at SOCOM or being tasked with that. Then kind of shifted around a few studios. I mean, it's a bit. They technically own when they purchased obviously Psygnosis and stuff. Well, there's some things that they don't because Psygnosis were the publisher of certain titles, so I don't know whether they retained IP. But I'd just look at the Psygnosis back catalogue and just start to. I mean, Wipeout needs to come back on current gen consoles. But I'd go even further back and look at stuff like G Police and Destruction Derby and stuff like that. Just the old back catalogue and see how it gets on. But certainly Killzone and.
What about The Getaway?
It was funny. I was speaking to
the Studio London, wasn't it?
Today, yeah. But I mean, they were.
I know.
The shit. But yeah, I was speaking to someone about The Getaway, and it's just one of those weird. It was one of those weird times where Sony were trying to kind of chase your GTAs and your other kind of big games, and then realised that they didn't quite make as successful version of it. You've got Decima Engine, you've got the ability to make a really good Killzone again and kind of revive that. You've obviously got attachments in some of the remaining people of Fire Sprite. If you look at Lucid, Wushu, some of those studios in Liverpool contain a load of ex-Wipeout developers. So Sony could look to those that they've worked with before to bring the Wipeout back, or could be looking at those to bring Wipeout back.
What about you, Lisa?
Wipeout feels recent enough to me that I wouldn't consider it discontinued because we did get one last gen, so they can still they can just remaster that, right?
Yeah,
that's cheaper. Remaster everything. I would quite like to have seen Twisted Metal. Obviously, they were working on that and they just canned it, so I'm not going to. And Resistance, I would much rather see. This is difficult actually. I was going to say I'd much rather see Insomniac work on Resistance rather than licensed games, but then I remember they're the licensed ones they've got coming are like X-Men, which actually I do really want them to be working on. Just for all my fatigue on the big Marvel licenses, that is a good one. So I guess I want to see them carry on that path.
I agree with you though, Asa. It'd be great to give them a shout to kind of revisit the obviously it was a great game IP.
Yeah, and it really fits to what that studio is good at in terms of its creative weapons and stuff. So they could probably do some awesome things with it now, but we're not going to be seeing that. Marvel budget is huge. Of course it is, episode 13, as is the amount they have to pay back to Marvel and Disney to use them. Yeah, there's probably
a fan of Killzone. Killzone 2 multiplayer was amazing. Really was, actually.
I'd like to be reeling off more Japanese ones, but
sorry, Asa.
No, I was going to say I'd like to be reeling off more of their Japanese stuff because I'm sure they've got a load in the catalogue there, but it's difficult on the spot to think of what's what.
Parappa the Rapper.
Yeah, not so much for me, no.
Well, a little bit of
Legend of Dragoon stands out, but it wasn't actually all that good. Yeah, I don't know. Let's do. No, Virtual Cop's not Sony. Come on now. Let's do the next question,
took over Jim Ryan, there'd be some Carnage games coming.
I've ruined
them. Episode 13. Episode 13 is asked. It's just been minimized. One of my favorite football games was Virtua Striker 2, version 2000.1 on the Dreamcast. It was amazing. A rainbow would come over the football for great goals. Your favorite football game, Darge?
Episode 13 obviously didn't play Pro Evo 4. That's all. That's the be all end all. As Pro Evo 4, if you're going to ask me, because it's the best.
Yeah, I know. That's why I asked you first, because you've answered that week in, week out as your favourite game ever. So it would be like those awards. You know, when you get award shows and they go this is the best game of the year, and then they have another award where the same game is available and they pick something else to be polite. That would be you if you picked anything other than Pro Evo right now, because you've said it's your favourite game ever. Pro Evo 4, favourite game ever, best football game is FIFA, right?
Yeah.
There we go. Go on, say what you were going to say. I'd cut you off, I didn't mean to.
No, I've lost all my train of thought and everything. I can't
Micro Pro Soccer, that's the greatest football game ever.
Micro Pro, yeah. I remember This Is Football. That was an early PlayStation game as well.
What
Another.
about Adidas
Who
Power
developed?
Soccer?
Oh, classic.
Never
Sony.
played
This Is
that.
Football was Sony.
Who made This Is Football? Who developed that?
London or Soho, I think.
It was a
remember.
PlayStation's own
Yeah.
football game.
Yeah.
Can't
Adidas Power Soccer was made by Shen in Paris and published by Psygnosis back in the day. That was good.
Fucking nice.
So once
For me,
upon a time, I like
Kickoff 2
Super
on the
Kickoff.
Amiga.
Yeah, there we go, Kickoff. That was a good one. Like the best, most lethal sliding tackles. You could only move in the 8 directions, and it was perfect. And I played a bit of Sega Worldwide Soccer on the Saturn, which was a categorically terrible football game, but it was really funny. So, scissor kicks everywhere. Brilliant game. Terrible game.
I don't know if either of you remember it. What was that football game where it was like proper dirty? You had to like get red cards and all that. Oh, I'm going to Google that now.
You mean like a
Madden
League one?
I think it was called like Red. No, it was on console. I think it was called Red Card. Anyway, I'll find that out.
You will.
Yeah, you find that out, and let's have our next question, please. Virtua Striker or Virtual Striker?
It was called Red Card.
It was called Red Card. I'll look at that in a minute.
There you go.
Oh no, it's another episode 13. He's got 2 in today. Favorite sports game that isn't a mainstream sport? Wrestling counts, or some quirky Olympic games on the older consoles? Fishing or darts on Shenmue? Darge, you don't need to raise your hand, but I guess it's better than shouting. Go on, tell me.
I'm at a meeting. It's international track and field. That was we had some absolute sweat fest playing that game back in the day. The old Duracell battery on the square and the X of the PlayStation, like that, running. That was good. Yeah, international track and field. That was powerful.
Yeah.
Terrible game. Go on, Chris.
Agree. No, I agree with that.
Terrible.
We used to play it in Sony on lunch. It was just
you had the claw. Like on the old PlayStation, you had the claw around so you could hit the triangle to do the jumps, wasn't it? Oh, what a fucking great time!
Yeah, you used to just have some type of object to do the running.
Yeah, I might even.
It used to look like Winter Olympics games used to be good. Some of the old like Olympic stuff.
Yeah,
bobsleigh and whatnot.
Yeah.
I'm going NBA Jam because basketball's not a mainstream sport over here. NBA Jam was good.
NBA Jam, NFL Street, when they did the Street variants, NFL Street.
Yeah, that was good. Yeah.
Little free player.
Jam, I think he said Def Jam, which is a good show to Chronic.
In Rocket League, that counts. That's a sport.
Rocket League's not a mainstream sport. The only time that's been televised is when Top Gear tried to do Toyota Yaris football or whatever.
Would foam stars be a sport?
No.
It's more of a party.
Game.
This is barely a game, no. And would not count as a favourite if it was. Anyway, I think we've answered that one. Let's have the next question, please. Wayne Gretzky hockey from the N64.
Yeah, that's a good shout, actually.
Tony, long live emulation. F corpos that don't care except for the currency. Well, that's not so much a question, but he's yelling. Does anyone want to yell back at Tony?
Well, Tony, it's your own fault that you've got that heavily modded Switch there now at home. Don't make it everyone else's problem that you're a thief. That's all I've got to add to that.
Apparently the question box is broken.
So we may have an issue. There may not be any more questions. To be fair, either if you can find any and you want to whack them in, then we'll read them. But if not, we are getting on for 2 hours anyway. So I can't see it.
I've said the question. Maybe.
Chris has said, FTW, does it feel good in your hand? I know what's happening here, and I should have been more careful. So, for those that don't know, he's trying to get certain words in for his editing.
He's talking about the mug. He's talking about the Arcadia mug, though, isn't he?
I'm sure he's not.
Is the quality good in your hands?
You got to be careful with him. He's
the quality of the fire department, police department, City of New York mug is very good.
Yeah.
I just realised my
FTW
foil stickers fell off the bottom in the dishwasher, so it's no longer authentic.
You
I see
fraud.
the back end. Isla, you're confusing me. I don't know what the problem is. I can see the questions that you're putting up. Do another one, if there is another one.
Can't see my question. I submitted one. But...
Or just whack a question in the general chat if the thing ain't working.
Yeah.
Free for all.
Does this
Free for all.
work from Chris?
Just my question.
Chris, do you want to answer your own question?
It seems to have worked.
Does seem to have worked. There's nothing from Patrick, but he says that he wrote one. Okay, so if you have submitted a question and we can't find them, it's an accident. You know, we do our best. Let's have another 2 if there are 2 more. FTW, I'd already said it. Okay. Well, I'm doomed.
Oh,
Tom has asked.
Oh, it's football again.
When playing football games, do you enjoy dribbling or shooting more? I don't know if this is another, like, just trying to get words in for an edit. Darge, do you enjoy dribbling?
I'm a dribbler.
Yeah.
I'm definitely a shooter.
I'm a bit lazy, so I just kind of
I'll be standing up.
Let's have the next one, please.
There's definitely going to be some. There's going to be a little snippet.
Patrick has asked. I asked when they put on shoes, do they do sock, shoe, or sock, shoe?
I'll put my shoes on first and then put my socks
And then
on
the socks.
over the shoes. Obviously.
I put my shoes on and then a glove over the shoe.
I actually don't know the answer. I can't remember the last time I put socks and shoes
I
on.
do
Probably
socks
this morning,
on
but
and
I'm
then
forgetful.
shoe.
Yeah.
I put my socks on and then my shoes. I don't go, who puts a sock on, then a shoe?
You feel really wonky just for that moment.
And then going
one really hot foot.
Mentally unstable people do that, Chris.
I'll just hobble around with one shoe and sock on and then put my other sock and then shoe on.
Well, there we go. Flush Jackson, new member question. Flush is a new member, awesome. Controller refresh for Xbox this year? If so, what does it need to have feature-wise? Yeah, it's almost confirmed that there's a controller refresh. They said when Sarah Bond said that there was new hardware coming at the end of this year, they specifically said controllers in the same breath. And it's going to be the one that leaked, basically, isn't it?
Yeah.
Everyone...
think...
That's the only thing for me. Be more robust than the old Elite.
I just, with a controller in general, though, like it's reinventing the wheel, isn't it? It's very good controller already. They can make slight tweaks, but that's what, like, between the PS4, the old fucking whatever that thing was called, the touchpad, yeah, and then the PS5 was like, oh, you can blow in this one. Like, they're coming forward with new things all the time, whereas the Xbox very minimally changes. Do you know what I mean? Because it's a very, very good base controller.
Mm-hmm.
I'm quite happy with it. Like, personally, I wouldn't know what they'd be. Obviously, haptics and stuff like that would be great.
Haptics in a speaker, a haptic speaker. So they had it leaked from the FTC what their controller plan was, and besides possibly the two-toned look of it, I reckon it's going to come out exactly as leaked, which is it's going to have haptics. It's going to have a central haptic speaker, so still haptics but capable of playing sound, which I hate, by the way. Loads of PlayStation games use the speaker on the controller. I always play with headphones, so it's useless to me. Like, they default to it. I've got headphones on. I cannot hear the sounds coming from the controller. Stop it. But Xbox is going to be able to do that as well, which is very nice. And yeah, everybody constantly cites... I've never had an issue with an Elite controller myself, Series 1 or Series 2. But I think I'm almost unique in that everybody has trouble with the bumpers and the sticks on those things. So they need to get the quality right.
Yeah, my bumper broke.
And that's what it'll be. Your bumper broke. Did you have any fall apart?
Series 2, I think I had it for 3 years or something like that. And then it was sticking, the right bumper. It weren't always triggering and it stuck. And I went and bought another one. And sweet. It's like, I can't complain, obviously. Do you know what I mean?
I think mine lives on my shelf because it's broke.
Have either of you got, if you were like able to dream up a feature for a controller, is there anything that you would like to see added to a controller?
Hand massaging.
Hand massaging, yes. Okay, what about you, Chris?
I would
Anything that
only
you would...
use that. I would only, just like the start, I would only use that for my hands.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying, I know what people
Cooling.
like. They get carried away and stuff.
Little cooling fans to keep your hands
Ooh.
nice and cool
Ooh,
on
lovely.
those sweaty
Good
summer
idea.
That's a
gaming
good
sessions.
one, isn't it? Little fans in the back. I like the sound of that.
All right, perfect.
What
Let's
about you,
finish it
Asa?
there.
Are you going to answer?
No, I'm not.
questions?
I'm not a creative person. I've answered a few of the questions.
FTW says unlimited battery life. Good shout. A little
I mean-
nuclear reactor in the controller that just infinite power.
Unlimited battery life, I think, is it's a big ask, isn't it?
It is a big ask. A
Oh, yeah,
little
don't
bit in
be
the realm of
shooting-
fiction at the moment, but
I was just saying, don't be shooting our people who've come to say hello. Damn.
FTW's sweet.
His
He's one of
dreams have been
he's one of the
shattered
guys.
by-
He knows we're close.
right. Speaking of, actually, hit the like button if you haven't already. I never remember to point that out, and apparently it does help if you just say these simple things. Give it the like and the share and the talking and the kissing. I don't know, all the things that you can do on YouTube. And we are going to round off this round table for today. So, Chris, tell everyone what you're up to for the week.
More work, and then I'm going to drag you and Darge into a game of Skull and Bones. Even if I've got to come around to your house and sellotape you to your PC until you play it.
I was going to just say, I'll play Skull and Bones with you, but now I know that if I say no, you're going to turn up at my doorstep with some sellotape. Yeah, let's see that happen.
Right, let us play Skull and Bones, and should we run it live as well so people can hear me Darge and you talking like pirates?
Yeah.
It'll be inevitable.
I'm not doing it yet.
Once you stay on the seas, you need
It happens when we play bloody Forza, Chris. It doesn't need to be sailing the seas. You two can't help yourself.
We managed to contain
Darge.
it for the show, though, didn't we?
You do sometimes, yeah. Tell me what you're up to for the week. Where can people find you? All of those kind of things.
On a roof somewhere in London.
Find me on a roof in London or in the gutter. Either one of those two places. I'm on the Twitter. I'm still calling it Twitter as well. I ain't calling it X. Yeah, still on Twitter, Darge Knight. Work. And I really want to get Death Stranding done. Like, I really want to get it done because I'm really worried it's going to get to a point where it's going to be shit and I will just go uninstall. And I want to get that story done.
I mean, as long as you reserve a couple of hours for some Skull and Bones with me and Asa. Fine.
Yeah, that's fine. That's
I'm sure
I'm around.
Hideo Kojima he'll forgive you.
I'm his favourite now.
He retweeted your screenshot share, didn't he?
He said he might come on the show. It's an exclusive. Well, Death Stranding. Is there any games releasing this week? I ain't too sure. Probably. I'll probably end up buying something. And that's it, basically. Another week.
Perfect. I'm going to be playing all of the things that we've got. Yeah, we've got various servers set up for the community. So we've got Powerworld, Enshrouded, and Zomboid all set up for the community. And I've not done my due diligence and jumped onto those servers to see what people have built and what they've been doing, and just kind of get them spread around a bit so everyone knows that they're there. So I'm going to be trying to jump onto each of those. I hear I need to smash everybody's Peggle 2 high scores. That's a thing that's going on these days. We're current and trendy. So maybe a little bit of that. And I'm going to...
Where's that happening?
Peggle's a community thing now. That's like Pete in the chat there's started giving it the big one. So I'm going to have to get it reinstalled and just start putting some world scores up there.
Darge is the self-declared king of Peggle 2. He started a thing now, and various people would like to be Darge, so they're coming for his crown. Oh, you said you could have Peggle 1, and excuses are already coming out.
No.
Story's changing by the minute.
You just
I'm
Peggle 2. I'm installing it now. I'm getting ready.
He just gets his lad to play for him, scores high scores, and then takes all the cred. We're on to you, Darge.
All this blasphemy.
Yeah, and I'm going to be running around fields in Final Fantasy indefinitely because I'm enjoying it. So that's me. I've got Q&A on this channel tomorrow, the Xbox Series podcast on Thursday as well. So, and I'm pretty constantly around in Discord. So if you're not already there, get yourself there. It's a good place to be. For now,
you weren't
though,
around much in Discord today when I was trying to find out what time we were on this show. Just blank
thanks,
to me,
Chris. Yeah, constantly. That's it for today. So thank you, Chris and Darge, for coming on as you usually do, and everybody that's come through and watched now, later, or whenever it may be. We're out.
Big up.